In this video, I'll show you how I painted the Morgul Blade and brought it to life. With the Morgul Blade fully assembled and the filler primer applied, it was now time to start painting the Morgul Blade. First off, I started with the metallic black paint to give a first base to the Morgul Blade before I can proceed to the next step of painting it. After adding a few coats of the metallic black paint, it was now time to give more volume to the raised area and shading to the Morgul Blade. To help doing this is I use a technique called dry brushing. So I use silver acrylic paint to apply across the guard, the blade itself, and the pommel of the Morgul Blade, and this allowed me to give more depth into the details of the Morgul Blade and look more metallic afterwards as well. After doing all the dry brushing, you can see now the volume it gave to the Morgul Blade. It gave more depth, and you can see all the details popping out even more with just a simple dry brushing. To even go further beyond than just adding a simple dry brushing is I went and added some rusting effect to give even more volume to the Morgul Blade. To achieve this is I used Scrag Brown as a base, and I applied it in some of the details of the blade and areas of the blade as well to give that volume additional as well. To make the rust pop even more and to show more fresher spot of rust is I then use Fire Dragon Bright on top of the Scrag Brown to highlight those areas to give more depth to that rusting effect. To make the blade even more sinister and give that ring wraith vibe for the Morgul Blade, I basically went and used some black gesso acrylic paint, and I start applying across the whole Morgul Blade, which will be for the guard, the pommel, and the blade itself. To which I applied it and I let it dry for a bit, and then I use a paper towel to start wiping it down, where the black paint will stay in the crevices, but also it will also darken the Morgul Blade as well to give that sinister look. And as you can see, the Morgul Blade looked even darker and even more sinister after just applying that little technique. Now the painting is done. Now it's time to add a nice leather type handle. So to do this is I use some faux leather. I use the painter's tape to put at the edge of the material since there was rigid, so I need a straight line. And then I went on it and started measuring the dimension and the size and thickness of how I want each for the strap should be. So I started measuring the size I need, and I'm pretty sure I used an inch to get that measurement in place. And then I used my scissors to cut down to the length I needed for that strap. After the material was cut, I went ahead and created a small angled area at each end of my material. I then went and start wrapping with the sticky side out the electrical tape around the Morgul Blade handle so I can easily apply the leather pieces to it. With the angled tip I made in the leather piece, I started that at the bottom, and I started wrapping the full leather piece around the handle of the Morgul Blade and overlapping as well the bottom area to give a nice overlay and texture to the leather strap as well, as you can see here. So I kept wrapping all the way to the top. Once at the top, I then use some fine tools to help tuck in the other angled end into the other piece. So basically I cut it under the full leather piece, so it looks more seamless and more finished. And there you have it, a Morgul Blade fit for a ring wraith.